This is my bubble emerger pattern. It can be really effective. Rides just under the film of the surface. And the material is nothing too crazy. Everything's easily found at just about any fly shop. Start your thread at about the midpoint on the hook. Here I'm using 70 denier or 6/0 black Danville. Snip your tag end free. Now take your Antron yarn, tie that in for your tail. It helps to represent a nice shock from that. Secure the Antron yarn with your thread down the hook shank. Snip the Antron yarn out 1/2 to 3/4 of a hook shank. Secure your pearl tinsel to the near side of the hook and wrap that down the bend to where you created the tail. Now take your 6 tippet, secure that on the far side of the hook shank. Be careful with this, it can be a little slippery. Secure it and wrap that down the shank as well. I'm going to take a small amount of Antron dubbing, create a small dubbing noodle. About 1.5 to 2 inches. Then as long as you want your dubbing noodle. Of course, it depends on the size of the fly you're tying. Take touching wraps up the shank of the hook to that original tie-in point. To the body. Needed to add a little bit more dubbing here. It's way easier to add dubbing than to take dubbing away. Now make open spiral wraps with your pearl tinsel. Secure it when you get to the tie-in point. Once you have that secured, snip the excess. Counter rib that with the 6X tippet, go in the opposite direction. This has an increase in the durability of the rib. Now take your poly yarn, clean up the ends to get a nice clean tie-in point, and tie that in just after the body. Once you have it tied in, pull it back forward, form a small loop, extending it over the body of the fly, and then secure that. Can be a little slippery, bulk, so be careful and snip it close. And then make sure that you cover all of that with some thread. extra churl. Tie that in. This will form the thorax of the fly. I like to wet the ostrich churl and force it backwards, just so I get nice clean wraps. It will extend over that bubble just a little bit. Now we're going to tie in a partridge feather. Prep the feather by preening the fibers upwards and creating a small little triangle at the end of the feather by snipping the tip. Once you get that tied in, help those fibers and hackles start to go backwards a little bit before you wrap. Then wrap the hackle forwards to just behind the eye. Make sure you take a couple good securing wraps over that stem. You can either snip or break that stem out. Now secure it with a whip finish and form a small little head. You could also add a hot spot here. I will often tie these with a fluorescent orange hot spot for a head. Put a couple drops of head cement on there to just make sure everything locks in and add some durability. There it is. That's the bubble emerger. It can be a very useful pattern.